still talking politics, well, the leadership of the Labour Party says it is adjusting its 2023 Presidential Campaign Council list unveiled on Wednesday to clear errors and accommodate more persons. The party's national chairman, Julius Abure, disclosed this at a press briefing today in Abuja. Abure explains that the earlier released list was marred with omissions and misplacement of names and consequently needs to be corrected, after which a supplementary list will be released for inauguration. Well, the party is also calling on the federal government and security agencies to arrest and prosecute persons guilty of harassing and intimidating its supporters during political rallies across the country.
We acknowledge some omissions and misplacement of some names in the campaign council, which will be corrected and a supplementary list released before the inauguration of the council. The NWC also acknowledge that the president of NLC, President Ayub Awaba, and the president of TUC were erroneously included in the lists. The corrected version of the list will be presented before inauguration.
All right, we have Arise Director of News and Politics, Editor Sambo joining us now for more on these stories. Samna, good to see you.
Thank you so
again,
much.
as usual. Let's begin with the Labour Party. What do you make of this alleged errors? What we're hearing from the Labour Party chairman, that some names were erroneously included, on the list of the Presidential Campaign Council of Peter Obi. Nigerians are expecting a lot more thoroughness from any party that wants to take over in 2023, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much, Ngozi. I don't think Peter Obi saw that list. And if he did, and that list was put out, then it has actually cast some doubt on the sort of president he would want to be. I mean, being a president is a very, very serious job. I mean, if you're a president, any executive communication that's supposed to leave your desk has to be vetted over and over. And if this is one of the very critical roles that you have to play, and the presidential candidate didn't see this before it went out, it's a problem. And if he saw it and it still went out the same way, it's a problem. Because I myself, as a journalist, when I saw that, and I saw some notable Nigerians, their names erroneously spelled, and then of course some of those other names included, yes, but clerical errors. I mean, they were just too much for people who are renowned. I mean, for example, Nenadi Usman, who's the former Minister of Finance in Nigeria. I mean, it's unforgivable. I mean, to want to misspell those kind of names. For other ones that it may be difficult for you to know. Yes, I mean, clerical errors. Look, at that height, we shouldn't be seeing this happening. But let's just assume that those ones happen because of the names. But how about the inclusion of people whose consent were not sought? Right. When you want to do this, you have to really seek the consent of people, call them, have a desk that will have to call them, seek their consent before their names are added. It's good to know that the Labour Party chairman has said that that list is going to be adjusted. But what has this brought to light? It looks like from the composition of the campaign list itself, that Peter Obi is just like any other establishment politician that we have around.
Have the same challenge.
Yeah, but for this instance, for example, when you see an Nenadi Usman there who's facing some issues, I mean, with
perception.
I mean, perception management is there. We think that Labour Party and other newer political parties should be different from the legacy political parties like the APC and PDP. So they have to be up to date in terms of what they are offering Nigerians. We have to see quality. Look at the inclusion of General Enenche's name too. I mean, with the backing by the NSAS group to the Labour Party, we didn't expect to see a name like that. And if you look at how the names are skewed, I mean, someone who's of a Southeast origin being the coordinator in Sokoto, being the coordinator in Lagos, and then Rivers and Edo State being skipped without coordinators. Yes, this is a work in progress, but all we are saying is that, yes, Labour Party is learning newer things, but they need to learn very, very fast, because when you want to join the big boys, you want to join the big league,
you have to wear the big man pants.
You have to play big and be very, very spot on.
Okay, I think you've answered that question, because I was going to say, it looks like the issues that Peter Obi tried to avoid in the establishment parties. It seems to be facing them now in the
it's
parties.
making him look like one of the establishment politicians because there's no difference between him and Atiku Abubakar and Bola Tinubu, for example. If the people who has in the campaign composition are people who have played big in the PDP before, played big in the APC, with some of them even dropping out and saying that, look, they don't want to be identified with that campaign. Weren't their consent sought before their names were put inside? I mean, these are the things we see in APC and PDP.
So talking about the establishment parties, let's go to the PDP. Governor Wike again. He seems to be bent on his position to say, Ayu must go. My question is, do you think that the party can adopt the doctrine of necessity around Ayu leaving and Wike and others, or Wike and the gang, like I've come to like to call them, have their way?
Yeah, I think for the first time I'm beginning to like Governor Nyesom Wike's insistence on what needs to be done. Actually, if you follow the politics of PDP, you know that the party has deviated from the foundation of the party itself. I mean, right from the G34 that formed that political party, there was an intention there to make sure that the party looks national in outlook, and that hasn't happened. Now, are these grievances genuine? Yes. And also, I must state it here that the presidential candidate of the party is beginning to wake up to realities. Atiku Abubakar, having seen that he has to call his fellow, some of the state governors to want to sit down and help him out. And my thinking is that what was he doing since? Why not use this doctrine of necessity, which PDP is known with, earlier on, immediately after the primaries and when Wike started this, to just, resolve these issues? I mean, if it's coming back to it right now, isn't it pointing to the fact that they've seen that the Uyo outing is leading to lots of questions being asked? Yes, that people are beginning to say, look, that outing wasn't as good as it was, and Atiku's now recalibrating. It's now recalibrating. I think the best way is being taken right now with the Kebbi and Zamfara campaigns being stopped so that he's able to fix all these issues is good. Look, Wike's issues, in as much as he has his own personal issues, nonetheless, the issues he's fighting for are genuine. And like you said, the issue of the doctrine of necessity should be found by the leaders of the PDP, not just the presidential candidate alone. And if Ayu needs to do what's important right now, he should. And if not, then there should be a middle ground in such a way that Wike's desire doesn't affect the presidential campaign.
And well, it's already affecting it. I mean, with the postponement of the Zamfara, Kebbi, Kaduna rallies. But can the man referred to as the unifier, can he really unify or reunify the party with a move, to get governors on board and, some who've been called masters, grandmasters of the PDP, David Mark, James Ibori, Peter Odele, and the rest of them to wade in? How much really do you think they can achieve?
They can achieve so much, Ngozi. These are the people who understand the DNA of the People's Democratic Party. And this is the time that you miss the one who used to be called the fixer. I mean, and then Tony Aneni. If people like that were alive, people who understand the DNA of the PDP, it makes it much easier. And like I said, it's good to know that Atiku is beginning to understand that he needs to bring people on board that can really help him solve this knotty issue. Does Atiku have the experience? Yes. Is he listening to others who are telling him that he should go ahead without these 5 governors and some of these other persons like Danobi? Yes, he's been listening to such persons. But has his campaign been affected? Yes. Has the party been injured by this decision of the 5 governors? Yes. And if it doesn't fix it, it will look like what happened to Jonathan between 2014 and 2015. And I think he's already seen the gray areas there. David Mark, he's a very, very fantastic gentleman. He was in charge of the committee that organized the presidential primaries. So he understands what's going on. But don't forget, even David Mark himself was accused by Wike at some point of having, be part of the orchestrated way to ensure that Atiku Abubakar emerged. So would a Wike want to listen to a David Mark? Well, based on past experience, I think, and how David Mark is well regarded in the party, he may want to give him a listening ear again. But the onus is on Atiku to use his political experience to be able to resolve this issue. If not, I can tell you it will affect the PDP.
Let's look at the APC. There's something about campaign council lists going on in all the major front runners.
It's a Nigerian problem.
It's a Nigerian problem. How is it a Nigerian problem that political parties had All this time, they knew they know that an election is coming, but they can't put their house in order.
The problem with the Nigerian political system is that imposition exists. I mean, you just remove the thinking among the political elite is that everybody wants a political job. So you don't even consult people, you just put their names on a list to just want to work for you. You don't have a think tank that sits down to actually call. I mean, in developed democracies, people are called upon before a list is actually made public. And then, of course, you have strategists who are at the back room, at the back end, they're helping you understand those and those who need to. Look, those who worked in 2015 elections and 2019 may not necessarily have the capacity to deliver in 2023. So if they can't deliver, why don't you push them aside and bring newer persons? So the tendency for APC to think that the presidential campaign can do it alone without the National Working Committee and without clearance from the presidency, in this instance, since they are the governing party, it's what's leading to this. Tinubu needs to sit down and listen to people. Those who are telling him that he can win this election because he has a lot of money, or because he's a strategist who has helped to dominate Lagos politics, are not telling him the reality. The reality in this instance is that just like they convened that meeting of the Presidential Campaign Council, the Progressive Governors Forum, and then the National Working Committees, they need to do one more or two more of those meetings before next week so that they're able to come together and deliver a list that's acceptable to everyone. Because if the thinking is that they need to raise funds, for example, where would the funding of the election come from? Do they expect President Buhari to dip hands into the nation's resources? If they do that and they lose, they know what will happen to them if the next government comes in from another party, because they did that to PDP in 2015.
Okay.
Well, some are saying the struggle to be part of the PCC
we have
about the money too.
Yeah, of course. You can't rule that out. I mean, in the government, APC and PDP, it's big time business for people wanting to be there. But for Labour Party or NMPP, well, it's out of goodwill if people decide to belong to them.
We always love to have you on the news, but we have to let you go. Arise, Director of News and Politics Editor, Sambo. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.